Welcome to Frontington and Backwoods Railway. In this episode, I'm laying track. With the boards built, and see my previous video about that, I can now start laying down my track. I've actually already laid some in my little fiddle yard over there, and got the DCC setup working nicely. So now I need to extend that to the rest of the layout. But before we get too carried away, it's important to consult the plan. Now the most critical bit of track here is that end curve. Now I've planned for this to be the equivalent of second radius, which is 438mm. My board is exactly 1 metre deep, so this will fit nicely, with the centre of the arc 50 centimetres in from the end and exactly on the join between boards 4 and 5. With that bit of knowledge, I can accurately place the first of my points, and the rest of the track should all slot into place from there. So here's my first point. I've outlined it in pencil so I don't lose track of where it's meant to be. I've also marked here where the tie bar is, and where the centre of the track is, because I'll need a hole there for when I fit the point motor. I've also marked this location here, which is where I'll be soldering the dropper wires. You can see Peco have helpfully left some space there for me to solder to. I'll need to drill some holes here for the wires to go through. And then finally I've marked the position of the frog, because once again I'll be soldering a dropper wire to it and feeding it through a hole. Next, I need to solder some dropper wires to the point. I'm tinning the wire first, of course, and then tinning the underside of the rail. The frog feed goes on first, that's nice and easy. Then the positive and negative droppers, making sure to get them the right way round. Oh, it's also a good idea to test the continuity with a multimeter. This reminded me actually that I needed to cut a couple of the wires underneath so that the frog is properly isolated. Then it's just a case of feeding the droppers through the holes. If you look carefully, you'll see I actually drilled the first holes in the wrong places, but hey-ho, no one's perfect. The next point along was much the same story, and then I could move on to my first bit of flexitrack. I actually soldered 2 sets of droppers to this section of track because this is going to be spanning a join in the boards and will eventually be split into 2 sections of track. correct length, I'm using a rotary tool. Mine came with this extension, which I'm finding really useful because you can get the cutting disc much closer to the track, so that the cut is more vertical. Oh, and don't forget to wear suitable eye protection, just in case. To fixing the track in place, there are lots of ways of doing it. Some people use glue, others use track pins. I'm going to use these little wood screws. They're self-tapping, and putting them between the sleepers should hold the track firmly in place. And if I'm not happy with the position of the track, I can easily loosen the screw, reposition the track, and tighten it back up again. Perfect for indecisive people like me. I'm placing a screw each side of the join in the baseboard so that the track will line up nicely later. Then it's just a case of slicing through the rails and carefully cutting away the sleepers. Back over on that end curve, I decided I wanted to try a bit of super elevation, or cant, where the track leans into the turn. So with the track roughly pinned in place, I slid some offcuts of cork under one side, and when screwed down it held nicely and gave me a really good result. Of course, having done the track at the front, I next needed to do the track at the back. Fortunately, I had always planned for the boards to be easily removable for exactly this reason. I just had to unbolt them underneath, and they all come off the subframe. Then I can place them back on the other way around, so that the back is at the front, and the front is at the back. And the bottom is... oh, actually the bottom is still on the bottom. When it comes to soldering the droppers for the track at the back of the layout, it doesn't need to be quite as tidy, because, well, no one's going to be looking as closely there. So instead of soldering underneath, I can get away with soldering to the sides of the rails, which speeds things up a bit. I mean, not quite as fast as this, obviously. This is super fast, but that's because video editing software is awesome. I'm dismantling the boards again and shifting them along a bit so that my soldering iron will reach to do the droppers on the rest of the boards. finally I can run some carriages round to make sure everything works. Some fettling may still be required, but it's certainly good progress. And that's it for this video. I haven't got to the sidings in the middle yet, but I really just wanted to get the outer loop laid down first, so that I can get on with the wiring and get trains running. That will be the topic for my next video, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Or if your eyes are resistant to peeling, hit that subscribe button and YouTube should let you know when I put it up. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.